Judica County is brought to you by Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law, your law firm for life.
Welcome back into Judica County Radio. Your hosts are Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, managing partners, Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm. Again, offices conveniently located for you in Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay, Varina, Gastonia, and in Morehead City. Again, Whitaker and Hamer, your law firm for life. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. If you have a legal situation you're facing, you got questions you need answers to, you can always call Whitaker and Hamer. The number's 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact info, briefly what the call's about, and an attorney with Whitaker and Hamer will be in touch. And again, we always say this, and we mean it. We want your emails. You can email your questions to the show, info@judicacounty.com, and we are focusing in on family law questions this show. So Josh, Joe, take it away.
During the break, I did some thinking.
Some soul searching.
I did. I was in deep thought. I was thinking about
I could see it in your face. I didn't want to interrupt you.
The Christmas special. I went with Christmas Vacation. We were talking about favorite Christmas movie / special / anything on video.
Yeah.
And I went Christmas Vacation, but I regret that because I think far and away the best Christmas movie / special / cartoon is The Muppets Christmas
You're all
Carol.
about the Muppets, man.
Yeah, Muppets are good. Muppets good. I like Charlie Brown's Christmas. I like that.
Yeah,
Peanuts.
You get Peanuts are good. You get Michael Caine's performance. He gave us like a grade A performance with the Muppets.
Yeah. I ain't got a problem with the Muppets, man. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've got an issue with the Muppets.
Well, that's good.
But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's the best thing I've ever seen Christmas related.
But you've seen it.
Yeah, but again, it's not my thing, and it's I've seen it, but it's not like it's stuck with me, man. Like I saw it, and then I kept on living my life, man.
I felt like Michael Caine gave like a Oscar-worthy Scrooge performance.
Well, Michael Caine's Michael Caine. Like, yeah.
And
it's Michael Caine.
And Scrooge is good too. Scrooge is way up there.
Yeah.
Everybody likes that.
Yeah, especially for
seems to make it
the adults out there. They love that movie. I love that movie.
And that usually comes like later for some reason. That's not like, they got Elf running like 9 times a day.
Ugh.
Scrooge usually shows up like 10 days till Christmas.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you on that, man.
So as attorneys, where do you fall on Die Hard? A lot of people feel like Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
It's not a Christmas movie, man. Not really.
I've never seen it, but I've watched a lot.
It's not a Christmas movie.
What? You haven't seen Die Hard?
No, we'll come back to that.
You never seen any Die Hards?
No.
You ever seen Under Siege?
I've seen the Under Siege. Yeah, I've seen Under Siege.
You're a Steven Seagal guy. I see it. Die Hard to me, I've tried to watch it at Christmas time and like make it a Christmas movie, and it just doesn't do it for me. And it's because I think you can enjoy that movie at any time, man. Any time of the year. It's going to be just as enjoyable to you, as opposed to like if I watch a Christmas movie like at the wrong time of the year, man, it's like it's weird.
Worthless.
It gives me the. But Die Hard I could watch in like March and it's fine, man.
Yeah, you can say yippee-ki-yay and feel good about it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It's well, anyway, family law. That's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about family law.
You haven't seen Die Hard, man.
I've never seen Die Hard. I've seen a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that's
they reference it a lot.
Yeah, they reference it a lot. And
I just don't like Bruce Willis.
And I saw that Bob's Burgers where they reenact it and do like a kid's play. So I feel like I got the gist of it.
You don't like Bruce Willis that much? Not a Bruce Willis guy?
Well, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've just seen a lot of. I don't think I've seen a lot of Bruce Willis movies, really.
I'm trying to think of something else that I could ask you about Bruce Willis wise, because obviously he's been in a ton.
I was
of
in
movies.
the Dead People one.
Yeah, he's in Sixth Sense.
I saw that one. That was a good movie.
The Dead People one.
Very different than his role in Die Hard, obviously. A lot different. Fifth Element, you seen that one?
No.
Okay. All right, never mind, man. Never mind. No Die Hard? That's nuts.
So family law. Last segment, we had Taylor, one of the attorneys at our firm, join us to talk about child custody in North Carolina in general and just how that kind of works, kind of give us an overarching answer to a lot of questions that we get. And we get a ton of questions on post-separation support, alimony, and child support. Those are all three different things that happen at 3 different times that for 3 different reasons. So, it's it causes a lot of questions. I think there's some confusion out there in the general public about when when child support's awarded, what they look at versus what they look at for post-separation support, which is the time you're separated before you can get a divorce in North Carolina. And obviously after divorce, there's alimony conversations. And so 3 different things. We get a lot of questions. And again, we went back to Taylor to ask her about this and get some explanation on how those are calculated. Just, again, a good general knowledge base to start maybe asking more complex questions. But here's what Taylor told us. All right, Taylor, I got another one for you.
All right.
Another listener question based in family law. And again, I'm taking a listener question and I'm kind of boiling it down to a general question that might be more helpful for folks who might be listening. But the general question I have for you, we all have heard in the movies, you hear alimony, right? You hear about alimony after a divorce. In North Carolina, of course, you have to be separated for a year and a day to get a divorce. And during that time, you're separated. In theory, you're living apart from your spouse. You've made a decision to separate. You guys are living separate, and you have a year and a day of that separation period. And so in North Carolina, we have something called post-separation support. And so our question today is, what is post-separation support? How does that work? That's the gist of the question.
All right. Well, post-separation support is essentially money given by a supporting spouse to a dependent spouse during that year-long separation. It's money that's kind of given for immediate access, immediate resources to make sure somebody's not left destitute during the separation period. And post-separation support terminates once alimony is decided. So whether it's alimony is denied or alimony is granted, either way, once alimony is decided, post-separation support ends.
Follow-up question then, how is post-separation support determined?
So post-separation support is determined kind of similar to alimony. You have to have one spouse that is the supporting spouse, which typically is the one that was the primary breadwinner during the marriage. You have the other spouse who was dependent upon them, which means they relied on that person's income for their livelihood. And the supporting spouse has to have the ability to pay. That's the one you see attacked the most, is whether or not the supporting spouse actually has the ability to pay.
Sure.
But that's kind of the framework of how post-separation support is determined and how you can even make a claim. You got to have at least those 3 things. And then it's a matter of how much you're actually entitled to based off of how much the supporting spouse makes.
How is that, without going into a lot of detail, but how is that? Let's assume the judge is able to determine the breadwinning spouse, the dependent spouse. Let's say it's determined that the breadwinning spouse has the ability to pay. Is there like a spreadsheet or an equation? How do you figure out what that amount of money will be?
So there's not an exact equation. There is an exact calculator for child support, but not for post-separation support and alimony. So what the court has everybody do is what's called a financial affidavit. And it kind of is a breakdown of what the expenses were during the marriage and what your expenses are now. And it's a way for the court to figure out, okay, if you need this money, how much in the red are you? Like, how much are you behind every month, and how much of a surplus does the supporting spouse have that can help contribute to you being in the red? Mm-hmm. So it's not an exact calculation, but that's essentially how we try to figure it out, is based off of your financial affidavits and how much the bills are.
And I think this is important too, because you were telling me this earlier, but we're talking about a lot of different things. So it's important to remember that post-separation support, any money for child support, and then alimony once divorced, those are all 3 separate things that get determined at separate times.
Correct. So post-separation support, alimony, you kind of see go hand in hand, because once alimony is decided, post-separation support ends, it kind of merges into alimony. But child support is completely separate. And usually child support is deducted first. You want to make sure the kids get the money they need first. So if child support is decided to be a certain amount, and after that amount you have no money left for alimony, well, then you might not be required to pay alimony anymore. But those are 3 separate claims, and I think for our listeners, we just want to make sure that's clear, because sometimes they do merge
in your mind.
Your mind, because it's money coming out of your paycheck, but they're 3 separate claims.
Well, Taylor, I think that's a good answer. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. So Taylor did a good job laying that down for us. The difference between child support, post-separation support, and alimony, all three different things. And it's just like anything else too. You know, you and your spouse or your soon-to-be ex-spouse can agree, just like me and Joseph. We can agree on anything we want to agree on. And that's always the best. You're not always getting along. Obviously, you're in the middle of a separating or divorce, so you're not always getting along. You're maybe not always dealing with the most, people at their most reasonable. But you leave it to a judge, you're going to get what the judge, wants you to get according to guidelines in North Carolina. Or, you can negotiate and try to come to a separation agreement. All these things can be agreed to. When you say Joseph, it's we always talk about trying to keep, the way I always look at it is trying to keep the government out of my personal affairs to the extent that you're able to. Sometimes it's not your call.
Yeah, keep them off your lawn, man, if you can.
We talk about that in we talk about that in estate planning,
really,
right?
Every aspect of life, like the less governmental interference you have is generally going to be better, right?
As an attorney, when we represent anybody in any area, we're trying to make everything easy for you, especially if we're doing planning. We're trying to get you out of having, anytime you have to go in front of a judge, even though there's guidelines, you don't know exactly what that judge is going to do. If you agree to things ahead of time, you'll know what to expect. You know what you're working with. And like I said, going to court's no fun, right? Family court's just like any other type of court. It's not. It's a last resort, in my opinion. It's there, and it's necessary sometimes. There's nothing you can do if the other side is unreasonable. But we try to knowing it's a necessary evil. It's the thing that has to happen. But trying to plan around it and avoid it is always going to be, a good attorney's part of a good attorney's advice, I think.
Oh, it's a tough subject, and I remember back when we were engaged before we got married. We had meetings with Catholic priest. We talked about percentages of divorce, how many marriages ended up in divorce, having those types of conversations. And you hear it all the time. I mean, it's a 55. I mean, I don't know what the exact number is right now. You guys probably might know the number, but it's over 50% of marriages end in divorce at some point. So family law is a big deal. I know that listeners out there will be like, wow, family law, really? And I go, yeah, it's very, very important. If you've got questions in and around family law, and you need some answers, you can always call Whitaker and Hamer. The number is 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact information, briefly what the call's about. Again, any legalese, and they'll have an attorney return that call and give you some answers to those questions. You can also email your questions to the show, info@judicacounty.com, and we'll answer them on a future broadcast. All right, so Judica County Radio, we'll take a short break. We're back on the other side.